708 on Saturday, May 17th, 2014, and this is the Salim Muwakkil Show on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. You can also catch streaming loud and clear by using iHeart apps on your smartphones or tablets, or by directing your browser to WVON.com. Whichever way you got here, you've made it to the place where we sift the news of the world, seeking some necessary context. All callers are special guests, so respectful conversation is important. And of course, we need your help for that. So get ready to flex those muscles in your mind because family, if it's 7 on Saturday, it's time for the Salim Show, live from WVON's Xfinity Studios. Tonight, we're going to touch on many issues in the news, from the continuing crisis in Ukraine to the continuing crisis of Donald Sterling, from the elections in India to the international mobilization to address the problems that have come up in Nigeria, the kidnapping of the girls by Boko Haram, and also al-Shabaab in Somalia, and similar throughout the continent. I'll talk a little bit about that. Maybe some time to discuss the 60th anniversary of the Brown v. Board of Education case outlawing school segregation. And, we can consider exactly what has changed over that period, or has anything substantially changed at all. And then on the reparations front, some very interesting news there. Continues to pick up. In Cobra held an event last week to kind of elaborate on the Chicago State Forum that happened last month. And the CARICOM demand is still making news around the world, those Caribbean countries that are demanding the Europeans, give up something. And also, and very promising, there's a massive pro-reparations piece or a pro-reparations article that will be published in the June edition of the Atlantic magazine that will enormously raise the profile of the issue, especially among white progressives and whatnot, and liberals who have had tended to disagree with the prospect of reparations, just as strongly as white conservatives. So his piece by Ta-Nehisi Coates is 18 pages, 17 pages, something like that. It's a very extensive piece, very well researched, put together nicely, well argued. And at the end of it, he adds really a coup de grace. He talks about Israel and how reparations to Israel has in fact enabled that country to do many of the things it does now. It would not have been able to do without reparations, strict reparations from Germany. He talks about some of the debates that went around discussing that, and how many Germans who were not even thought of during the Nazi era are still saddled essentially with the obligation of reparations. And he made the case very well, and it's argued in a rather prestigious publication, and so it's going to get a lot more visibility, and the argument can't simply be brushed off, I don't think, any longer as simply as the possession of radical black nationalists who are impractical in their prescriptions. So and other kind of idealizing leftists, So it's going to be a good piece. So look out for it. The Atlantic magazine. Well, stuff is still going on at the Bundy Ranch as the militia and various patriot groups who are attracted to his cause have settled in and vowed to remain to protect this welfare rancher against what they envision to be the assaults of the government. It's always very, very interesting to me when I see this, though, because I remember so many of us in the days of the late '60s and '70s when we would have done something very similar to that and awaited the assault of the government. Remember, Move assaulted a group that had kind of held up and established their own sovereignty. And they were, it's just interesting how these things have turned around. But what's more, the turmoil there has provoked a movement in neighboring Utah over land use as well. Dozens of Bundy supporters showed up at a canyon in Utah, an 11-mile stretch of land that's home to a Native American archaeological sites. It's been declared off limits to all-terrain vehicles because they were damaging the land, and some of the people who were using them were vandalizing these Native American sites. But Bundy's people and like-minded folks organized a protest, and they began riding these ATVs illegally in that prohibited area. So Bundy's example has triggered, I think a kind of movement among these folks. They see it as a place where they can initiate a standoff. Well, election results in India show that nationalist opposition leader Narendra Modi will become India's new prime minister. Modi previously served as chief minister of the Gujarat province, where one of India's worst anti-Muslim riots left more than 1,000 people dead. And a lot of observers criticize Modi for not moving quick enough, for taking insufficient action to protect the Muslim inhabitants of that area, and he has expressed very strong Hindu nationalist sentiments, and people are a little worried about that, but we'll see. His major promise is that he's going to reinvigorate the Indian economy, and the Congress Party's corruption was so endemic that no matter what his ideology is, any serious opposition probably would have been victorious against the scandal-ridden Congress Party in India. So we'll keep an eye on that to see what goes on. Thousands of people have taken to the streets across Brazil to protest the billions of dollars that are being spent on the World Cup, which begins next month. In Sao Paulo, thousands of families have occupied an area near the site, and they're protesting, calling for more spending on housing, health, and education, rather than all of this money for these athletic games. And riot police fired tear gas at demonstrators in both cities, Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro, to quell some of the protests. Also, a little later on this evening, we're going to be spending some time talking to Sister Darlene Tate about this upcoming self-employment expo that she's put together. It's designed to encourage business ownership and other kinds of self-employment, entrepreneurial activity. We'll find out what's going on with that, and we are going to find out what's going on with you as we go right to the phone. Studious, hey brother, how you doing?
I'm just trying to keep a clear perception in this land of deception. What about you, Salim?
I'm doing pretty much the same, brother.
All right, and hello to the VON fam, and thanks for taking my call. We've been having this ongoing conversation concerning seeking employment in areas where having the politician that you may think is the best candidate for the position is minimized because your job is not really being affected whether that particular politician gets into office or not. Mm-hmm. Although voting is important in my opinion, since we have difficulty in the voting booth, I provided another alternative to look at, which was learning a trade in hopes of working for yourself, but that is not the only alternative.
Well, they don't have to be mutually exclusive, do they?
What?
Voting or working for yourself.
Oh, you said they don't have to be mutually exclusive, voting or working for yourself.
Right. I mean, you can do both, can't you?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I was just trying to provide some alternatives because we were having trouble.
But that's not an alternative to voting. It's an alternative to working for somebody else. That's what you mean, right?
Well, what I'm looking at is since we're having so much difficulty in the voting booth, I was looking at ways that we could try to put our energy in hopes that we would be able to seek some employment that in the end, it doesn't matter who gets in office, a Democrat or Republican or who else, because we're going to be able to work and make some money regardless. That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, but voting is not so much for individual economic advancement as for community coordination, for coordinating services and goods that are good for the entire community. The politics for the polity. And if so it's not two different. It's not the same track. These are two different tracks. One is political assuring political accountability, maintaining some sort of political control over your community, and politics is just an aspect of living. Vocation is another aspect, but they're not. They shouldn't be confused. I don't think.
Yeah, they shouldn't be confused.
Right.
I didn't. Okay, I didn't.
What I'm saying is, I don't see why one should be contingent on the other or necessarily even connected.
Well, here's the point that I would make about when you say connected. Sometimes I've heard, and maybe you've heard it too, is that when people vote, they talk about employment in the community. Well, this would be better if we had this particular politician in office. Yes, it would be better for the black community to be able to find decent employment, or what I mean by decent employment would be employment with a livable wage.
Right.
Or if this politician gets in,
I got you.
It's going to be.
I got you. I understand your point.
What I wanted was. And I'm glad you asked, because I've been trying to find different ways to say this point. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's an alternative that's going to solve every problem that we have. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying looking for some alternatives since we're having trouble in the voting booth, and we're saying, well, this politician is not doing what he or she is saying. This politician talks about we're supposed to be getting better jobs, and we don't get them. Why don't we seek employment in areas where maybe we can minimize the need to have that particular politician in office that we look at as supposed to be bringing help to our community?
Yes, sir. I think I understand where you're coming from. I think that many people do argue that they want politicians to make jobs more available and to allow people to get to their jobs and have more access to certain kinds of jobs. And you're saying that if we had of a more kind of independent outlook where our vocations were not dependent on politicians' largesse or them encouraging other people to hire us, then we would be less dependent on whatever politician comes into office. That's your point, right?
Well, what I'm saying, and I'm hoping you're getting my point, because if you don't really understand it,
I thought I did a pretty good job with that one. I thought that was it.
Okay, well, because I don't know if you don't understand it, I'm concerned about the VON family not understanding it. Where I'm coming from is that when we're electing officials, and a lot of times it's because of a number of things. There's not one reason. There's always a number of reasons. It's not just one reason. But we're having problems where, because one thing, a lot of us, unfortunately, aren't understanding issues when it comes to voting. We're being misled by a lot of black misleadership. And what happens is that we're ending up putting people in office that maybe we shouldn't put in office, and then we complain, well, we thought they were going to do this, we thought they were going to do that. They didn't do it. And what I'm saying is one of those things that we complain about, and I'm not saying it's bad to complain, but I'm just saying one of the things we complain about is that we're not getting the employment that we want. So I'm saying, okay, let's go in a different direction. Let's look for jobs that may be able.
I thought I just made that very same point.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe sometimes
jobs that are not dependent on politicians, would make us less vulnerable to whoever politician comes into office. That is your point,
okay.
right?
Now I did understand you there. Sometimes you got to. I'm just being honest. You got to repeat something sometimes with me because sometimes I don't catch everything the first time.
All right. Well,
but I did understand you.
I got where you're coming from. And I think it's important to be concerned about having vocational autonomy. Where our economic sustenance is not dependent on somebody we may vote in or some kind of benevolence they may offer to us. I think you're right that we need to be more independent than that. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Yes.
And I'm saying it's possible because I don't want to look at this like, okay, this is a solve everything. It's not solving everything. I'm just saying look at some different alternatives. I mean, because when you look at that, I brought up last week that pre-clearance thing that was going on last summer where it was supposed to be moving back a couple of sections in the voting rights, in that voting rights law that had passed, where they were going to be saying it was going to be easier for certain states to be able to racially discriminate, because, the pre-clearance, if that's not as strong, they don't have to get certain things approved by the federal government before that state may want to do something. So, it was a lot of people who were upset about that. And I'm saying, okay, fine. Let's not throw that out and say don't fight for it. I'm just saying let's look at some other alternatives because that's the way they expect us to respond.
Yes, sir.
But if we look at it and we say we're going to take more of an offensive road as well as the defensive road, then I just think that we open ourselves up to more. And the other thing I want to say is that even I've mentioned a trade, but I'm not saying don't go for the intellectual stuff. I would like to see, especially blacks here in society, let's try to do well as many different things as possible. So if one job doesn't work out right, if you're into the educational system, that doesn't work out right, okay, well, you might know a trade, or you might be a musician. Okay.
I got you, Brother Studios. Thank you, man. Appreciate it, brother.
Okay.
Thank you.
See what?
Let's go to Brother Hall. Brother Hall, hey, man, how are you, sir?
Hungawa.
Black Power.
Yes, sir, my good brother. How are you today, Salim?
I'm doing well, man, doing well.
Good. Salim, give me a couple of minutes if you can, brother. I really, really would appreciate this. This is so important, I think, to our community, and it certainly touches my heart on what's going on in our community. Okay. I don't all the time agree with the mayor. Matter of fact, probably 98% of the time I don't. But this is one time, man, that I could put my feelings in my back pocket and do the right thing. And I think that we as a community, as a family, we need to step up to the plate. We can't keep ignoring the situation out here that's happening with our babies. Can't keep doing that, Salim.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped by WVON a few days ago. I don't know if they left you some of the literature that I left, a few of the posters that, we came out of our own pocket because that's the right thing to do, to start this campaign with things have got to change because gun violence cause so much pain. Put down the guns. There should be a poster there at VON. I'm not sure whether you got it or not, but actually...
I don't see it around, but it's probably here.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. But here's the thing, Salim, and I'm asking the WVON family, please, if you got a few minutes, if you need me to come by and drop one, I will. I'll leave my name, and you know my name, but I'll leave my number with the producer after we're done here, because this campaign, man, seriously, it's a visibility campaign. We can't expect Pharaoh to finance our campaign in our community. You understand what I'm saying? And it doesn't take much. It didn't cost me a lot. But the fact of the matter is that I would like to see the visibility in the windows as we tried to do as we did with Mayor Washington. I was a part of that when we made the T-shirts of the Nobody But Harold piece. And to see that type of visibility going out the community, man, was just strong. It was strong in terms of our community doing things together. You understand what I'm saying, Salim? So
yes,
I'm practically begging the community to please call the WVON. I'll leave the number. I'll bring the poster to you. And I'm asking the community, let's display this poster in our window. Now, a lot of people say, well, what is that going to do? Well, we don't know what it'll do, but I think it's a start, you know. And if anybody else got any other suggestions, I'm willing to sit down and listen, because we have to get behind this, brother. As you know, I lost my own son to gun violence. So, you know, I'm just asking the community, please, if you can see yourself picking up that phone, calling WVON to get that number, I'll personally deliver the poster. And that's all I want to do.
Are the posters here already?
Yeah, well,
you delivered some here already?
Yes, I did. I did deliver some there, but what I'll do, Salim, I'm not far in the area tonight because my daughters them got me running around to that popcorn place by you. So actually, I'll run a few by there now if possible.
Okay.
Okay, I'll run a few, and if anybody needs some, you know, all they got to do, if you put me on hold, why don't I leave the number with the producer? In the meantime, I'm on my way to drop you off some of the posters, okay?
Okay, I'll do that.
All right, and I thank you so much, man. Thank you,
right.
brother. Thank
All
you,
right,
WVON listening audience.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
All right, Brother Hall. Brother Greg will be with you shortly, Brother Hall. Brother Larry. Hey, Larry. How you doing, man?
Oh, brother, man, it's a good time to talk to you again. I haven't spoke to you in a while.
Brother Larry. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm all good, sir. Very good to speak to you again.
And you as well.
But, you know, I'm very much amused, and I'm profoundly grateful for the fact that the likes of Obama and those in his Pentagon and defense establishment were not extant at certain critical periods in American military history, and I'd like to explain.
Okay. Do that.
Now, just think of George Patton being told by Eisenhower Bradley that there's no point in your breaking off a major offensive in the Saar Palatinate in the dead of the worst winter in Europe in 50 years, wheeling your entire Third Army 90 degrees in 3 days and heading north to relieve a lightly armed division of paratroopers who were surrounded by Hassel van Mantorpel's 5th Panzer Army and Panzer Grenadiers. Ain't nothing can be done. You can't get there in time. Or had they been around, you know, in 1950 in November, when
Patton disregarded that and made it and did it.
No, Patton was planning with them. They didn't fight him. He told them he could do it. They said, "Oh, George, you can't really do it." He said, "Yes, I can," and sure enough, he did it.
Okay.
They didn't fight him on it. He submitted his plans to them, and they fully approved him. They didn't give him no guff. And now, also in November of 1950, when 7,000 or so Marines of the 5th and 7th Marines Regiment of the 1st Marine Division was encircled by 150,000 Chinese, the Chinese 9th Army, and were forced to withdraw 80 miles to the port of Hungnam. I am so glad nobody's around there and say, hey, task force Drysdale, break through the Chinese encirclement and relieve those Marines at Koto Reef and Hungnam so we can get the rest of these guys out. There wasn't nobody who said that. But all of a sudden in Benghazi, here we got these people being told, oh, there's nothing you can do. You can't get there in time. And 2 SEALs who didn't have anything but handguns, they were CIA direct, they went and after being told 3 times to stand down, they went and ran to the scene on their own authority, disregarding those orders, picking up discarded weapons by the Libyan contractors, and on their own, 2 SEALs who weren't even prepared for it, killed 60 or so of the attackers on their own. A Marine battalion landing force had been committed there properly, probably could have conquered the whole doggone country. Now, you know, it's a known fact that American forces in that region train for what's called a non-combat evacuation operation. Every embassy and consulate has and practices all kind of emergency evacuation plans.
That was a CIA site, Larry.
No, it was Glenn Doherty and Ty Woods, and they weren't at the consulate. They were several miles away from the consulate when they heard of the attack. They requested permission to go to the aid of the people at the consulate. They were repeatedly told by their superiors in the CIA, because they weren't on active duty anymore. They were former SEALs, and they were told that they should stand down. Don't go. And at the 3rd request, they said, "The hell with it. Americans in trouble." They didn't
want to bring attention to the CIA site.
Sir, I don't care what their reason was. Ty Ty Woods and Glenn Doherty.
But I mean, that's part of the reason. That's part of the reason why there was that reluctance.
But Salim, I'm saying two men utterly unprepared and unequipped for it, almost just wiped out the attack.
I don't know where I'm not familiar with that data, Larry.
I am.
Where can I get it? Where can I find it?
You need to check it out.
Where can I find it? Where can I find it?
Now let me go on with
I just want to know where I could find that, where these two heroic Americans killed 60 people.
The testimony
by
General Levitt, the Air Force general who testified under oath.
Yeah.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
The Air Force General Levitt testified to all of these things under oath, sir, at the hearings. You can just look at the hearing transcript.
Okay,
but look, now they practice for these evacuations regularly, especially the Navy and the Marines. They practice it prior to every seagoing deployment as a high-priority mission. This involves full dress rehearsals with civilian role players, helicopters, landing craft, rounding up stranded stragglers, op-4 ambushes, role-playing angry mobs, fighting your way to landing zones or beaches while protecting civilians, right down to caring for infants. It's a top military and State Department priority. They practice it all the time. It's standard operating procedure. When the alarm goes off worldwide that an embassy or consul is being attacked.
So Larry, your point is that the Obama administration intentionally withheld assistance?
Yes, I am absolutely saying that.
And they did that because
I'm going one step further because it is standard operating procedure, Salim, for the forces to go to the line of departure and hold awaiting orders from the chief executive. This is automatic. They don't have to be told to do it. They do it automatically.
So they didn't do it.
They did do it.
Well,
they were ready to go.
The Obama administration
to go.
So the Obama administration didn't do what you wanted them to do because
Sir, let me say it again.
Because of what, Larry?
Yes,
what's
I
the
wanted
reason?
them to send those military.
Okay, what's the reason that they didn't?
You know, that's what
they're communists. Is that what you're saying? They're communists.
I think I know why.
Muslim.
Socialists. You asked me a question now.
I'm trying to get.
I think I know why. However, I don't have. Look, I like to be able to take stuff to a grand jury.
Yes.
And I don't have it yet. But you know what?
Like the same grand jury that Sheriff Aparicio or whatever that guy's name is, that fake big blustery idiot that you seem to like so much, who didn't come up with anything yet. Who? The guy, that sheriff in Arizona. That fool in Arizona who you love.
Boy,
that chump who you love.
Okay, now you're changing the subject, but since you mentioned
the same chumpy kind of logic, though.
You mentioned it, Salim. Okay,
yes,
you mentioned it now.
Yes,
I said I wasn't going to say nothing about it, but you were.
Well, I mean,
wait a minute. And the
it sounds like the same kind of fantasy you're spinning, though.
It's not a fantasy. It's already testified to under oath by
it's the GOP trying to.
Wait a minute. Wait, sir.
Trying to stop Hillary Clinton. We know what it's all about, Larry. Come on,
wait
man.
a minute. So, now, I know you changed the subject,
man. And not only is it a joke that y'all try to do it, but the real reason that there was a problem in Benghazi is because the CIA was cooperating with the jihadist forces, and y'all don't want that to be known that the U.S. forces collaborate regularly with jihadist forces, and just like they did in Afghanistan, just like they're doing in Syria.
Sir, again, you're looking at the political now.
Yes, sir.
The military does things under standard operating procedure. It doesn't have anything to do with politics.
So
they did what they do because it's standard operating procedure. The personnel go to the line of departure. They get in the assembly areas. They get ready to jump off. Also, the rules say you cannot go across a border without permission from the chief executive. They would have gone if it had been SOP to go without permission, but they needed permission. They didn't get it. Leon Panetta.
And why didn't they get it, Larry? That's what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to find out what you are alleging is the reason that they didn't.
Okay. Now, see, you want me to be like people here who make things up. And I have to do that now. I don't make things up, Salim. What I just tell you is a fact.
Okay, what's your best speculation?
Larry's opinion. I will give you Larry's opinion, and that's what it is. But it's based on the fact of this anti-American, America-hating administration that this creature runs in the White House. That's what it is. And that's why I didn't want to. That's what I believe. Now, you asked me what I believe. Now, okay. I'd rather take stuff I can take a grand jury.
Okay, thank you, man.
Want to hear, but wait a minute. You said
I got to go, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, but Joe Pio has got a good reason for what he's doing. I know what it is. And when the truth comes, I fully approve of what he's doing.
All right, Larry.
Thank you, man. More power to him. You just wait. It's coming.
Thank you, sir. All right, Larry. Whew. We'll be back. Let's go back to the phones. Brother Shelby. Hey, man.
What's happening, Brother Salim?
Hey, I'm cool, man. How you doing?
Oh, you're always cool, man. Thank you for your show, man. You always get some good conversation going, and I always learn a lot, man.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
You know, Brother Salim,
you aid greatly in that process, brother. I'll let you know that.
Man, look, I'm just a little student, fall back in the classroom, writing down. Hey, Brother Salim, writing down as much as I can for as long as I can, man. I'm telling you, man. You got some good stuff, man. You got some good stuff.
All right, brother.
You know, Brother Salim, I really appreciate your last two shows because the 5%ers, those are some very honorable brothers, man.
Yes, they are, brother. I find them to be that. Yes, sir.
They're very straightforward. Now, I do find some of their beliefs to be not rooted in facts.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, and Brother Simbini pointed this out the last time he called last Saturday. Brother Simbini mentioned that in the book, the Messenger, the Rise and Fall of Elijah Muhammad,
mm-hmm.
by Carl Evans. Now, specifically on page 350 and 351, Clarence 13X's name is mentioned on those two pages.
Mm-hmm.
And, now, when they tell me he's a god, because they refer, the 5%ers refer to Clarence 13X as Father Allah.
Yes, sir.
Father, now, Brother Salim, he had a gambling problem.
Sure did.
I have a hard time understanding how a god can have a gambling problem. Number two, Brother Salim, on June 13th, 1969, Clarence 13, they call Clarence Smith or Clarence 13X or Clarence. If you read the declassified information on Clarence 13X, they refer to him as Clarence Smith Jowers.
Mm-hmm.
If you read, and they also said he went to Korea, fought in the Korean War and all that stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But on June 13th, he was sitting in the lobby of the Martin Luther King Towers apartment complex. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with that story.
Mm-hmm.
And he was shot to death there.
Yes.
Now, if you see, Brother Salim, if you go to the New York Times article one day after June 14, 1969, they mess up his name. They didn't call him Clarence 13X. They call him Clarence 37X.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at that New York Times article the day after,
yes, sir,
they messed up his name. So
yeah, they got him mixed up with 37X
with
Kenyatta.
With Charles 37X.
Kenyatta,
Yeah, they refer
yes,
to
sir.
Charles. So I really wish these brothers would not. Now, another question that I had, Brother Salim, if they're the 5%, do they have some 5% sisters in that 5%, Brother Salim?
Yes, they do. They call them Earths. They call them Earths.
Or they call them Earth. Okay, so within the 5%, they have some sisters that they're including in that 5%.
Yes, sir.
Now, Brother Salim, that I'm a little fishy about that 5%. Listen, when everybody attribute the talented 10 to Du Bois,
mm-hmm.
I realized that they did not really search that, because Du Bois was not the originator of the talented 10 concept.
Well, it was a Germanic concept, essentially, but he got it from a German philosopher.
According to Evelyn Higginbottom's book, Righteous Discontent, the 10%, the talented 10th term was coined by Dr. Henry Morehouse. According to her book. Now, I mentioned, and that's who Morehouse College is named after, Dr. Henry Morehouse.
Uh-huh.
See, it's important to clarify where things originate.
Well, but it originates even further back than that.
What's your source? What's your source, Brother Salim? You asked me. What's your source? Man?
It's an element of Germanic philosophy. Schopenhauer, many of the this is where Du Bois's, and many of the early black intellectuals, much of their scholarship was based in German.
And Brother Salim, has the talented 10 saved black people? No, not at all. In fact, Brother Salim, they've been used as a buffer zone to our community to get what they got. We used to call them some more Negro stuff.
Well, Marx has a word.
The proletariat?
Not the proletariat, but
okay.
it's a term for collaborate. It'll come to me.
Okay. That's what they did. That's what they did. Hey, Brother Salim, you're going to have a guest on talking about self-employment.
Yes.
And that. One of the things that I picked up from Dr. Jawanya Kunjufu's book and also another book is you need to have hobbies that you develop early in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And by having these hobbies, they lead, and that gives you an opportunity to volunteer, get more experience, and then those opportunities open up where because that's a hobby and because you have that kind of experience, that leads to employment.
Yes, sir.
I can tell you, Brother Salim, when I graduated after finishing engineering, people thought I was crazy, brothers. I would work from 8 to 5. From 5 until midnight every day of the week, I was volunteering to tutor students in math. Volunteer. They would not pay me, Brother Salim, from 5 until midnight every day of the week. And I got better at it, not because I'm smarter than anybody, just because I had an opportunity.
So what motivated you to do that, Shelby?
I wanted to be better at what I learned, because what I learned, I wasn't really an expert at. I just kind of knew it, and I got through it. I made some A's and B's and stuff like that. But until, Dr. Kunjufu got something in his book. When you read something, you remember something like maybe 10%. If you read and write it, but if you, at the higher order of that pyramid that he got, when you teach people, you remember more of what you know than if you just read it.
Absolutely right. Uh-huh.
So I'm just hoping that people would get into hobbies, playing chess, cleaning up the neighborhood, manual labor, anything, reading to children, or any kind of hobby that you can get early in life. If you do now, have you ever heard of this 10,000-hour rule, Brother Salim?
I've heard of it. Yes, sir. I have.
Okay, but the concept is important. That if you do something long enough, you become you master what you did for that long period of time.
That's right.
And they put this 10,000-hour rule on it.
Mm-hmm.
So now, one other thing, last thing, Brother Salim. You know why Michael Jordan was so good? See, he wasn't good because he had a lot of natural talent, because when you get at that level, everybody's got that natural talent. When I read his book, 2 hours before everybody gets there, Brother Salim, he's shooting and playing. And through the whole practice, then after the practice, 2 hours after everybody
Sonny Rollins and John Coltrane, they never went anywhere without a sax in their hand. They practiced continuously.
And that's why Tiger. Do you remember seeing Tiger Woods and his dad on those late night shows?
Yes, sir.
Man?
Yes, sir, I do.
Tiger Woods. He started 3-4 years old, man.
Brother Shelby?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh,
I'm sorry about that, Brother.
Okay.
Hey, that's my comment, man. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you, man. Appreciate it, brother.
Have your guest on. Man. Have a nice evening. I'll listen to you Monday.
You too, Shelby. Take care.
Okay, thanks, man.
All right. Yes, sir. The word, it's a Marxist word for a collaborator. It'll come to me. Let's go to Mr. Wells. Hey, my brother, how are you, sir? Assalamu alaikum.
Oh, man, it's the creek from Ohio, Salim. Salim, you know what, man? I really do love Illinois intellect. I really do. I love the intellect of the VON callers. But, at some point, and the heart on what we would like to hear, as opposed to the facts that are substantive, like Shelby talks about, we have to move away from the narrative that we would like to champion of the downtrodden and get to facts. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm telling people about Ohio. I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. And that's one of the reasons why I started monitoring other talk show stations, because I'd like to be fair. The station here in Cincinnati, that is a radio station, has banned me. All right, I'm banned from that radio station that is the family of the Radio One group relative to Cincinnati, Ohio.
Why?
For a number of reasons.
How have you alienated them, Mr. Wells?
Well, no, the thing is, they tried to go in on me because of my activism as a professional, as a researcher, and as an analyst meets that which is away from radio, from the commentary, to actually getting on the ballot and running for office. And you get this propagandist element in commercial radio that aligns itself with the business community. Look, if it's the white green, the black green, the yellow green, the red, the brown green that is behind commercial radio,
yes, sir,
it lends itself to white supremacy thinking. Now, if I point that out and folks get mad at me because the narrative is suspicious, when certain people in the media, what happened was the station tried to say, I punched a student in the chest. I'm like, look, I'm a licensed teacher in this state. You cannot go in on me and say that I have punched it. And me being an activist, you know, my teaching license would have been snatched. But they tried to do this narrative because somebody who was an activist who got co-opted tried to talk about Brother Dwight accepting money during the boycott movement. I will never let anybody go in on Dwight about Dwight accepting money unless you can prove it. Like some people said earlier on that guy's show before you, oh, he's a paid informant. I'm telling you right now, I'm coming to Chicago one day. When I get there, anybody that said,
well, somebody called you a paid informant on Philip's show?
Yes, they did. Huh. Yeah, no, you're doing field show. You say I'm a paid informant. If you cannot produce the document and the money that was transacted to me, you have no credibility, and the black community should watch out for you and ostracize you because somebody brings. I mean,
that whole paid informant. When people start talking paid informant, man, it always goes nowhere because you can always make that charge, no matter what. You know,
I'm saying this.
He's an agent. They're an agent. You hear that so much, man.
Okay, but the thing is, you can't rob a person of his good name because you don't like when I'm discussing facts. And
that's true.
You know, and this is what happened on this station here in Cincinnati because the radio announcer said it. So I said, okay, you got the microphone. If people want to go look at it, I went and put a video up on YouTube. My username is A1 Advocate, the letter A, the number 1, and Advocate spelled out. That's my name. I own it in Ohio. I have a list of videos noted as A1 Advocate relative to Cincinnati and things. And I did a video called How to Dismantle a Radio Rumor, a case study of this radio station. I sent it up to corporate. I said, if you want me to call to the station again, send me an email and I will publish it to let folks know you all have told me I'm banned from your radio station. The folks locally got mad at me because I called corporate. Oh, well, damn right. Excuse my language. Doggone right, I call corporate because I can. If you want to rob me of my good name and say I punched the student in the chest and it didn't happen in response to some activist who has accepted money trying to dog out Brother Dwight Patton, it's not happening. We lost a lot of money. We lost a lot here.
Mr. Wells, you're getting a little bit too personal and too parochial right now, my brother.
I apologize for this.
Widen it out a little bit.
No, what I'm saying is that and it's starting here in Chicago when I'm explaining to people about some things that have happened here in Akron relative to that Kelly Williams Boulevard. It's too complex. And that sister was a minor because some of the stuff that Mr. Jackson may not be aware of, that young lady was intentionally leaving out and not telling the public. And, and these facts can be found. And I'm like, so you start getting these conversations. It's even about open enrollment. We got open enrollment in the state of Ohio about how you can leave one district and go to another if that district has open enrollment. There's open enrollment statute here in Ohio.
Okay, I really don't want to go over another
Okay, cool.
Argue or evaluate another case.
Okay. I'm going to do something quickly about this fellow out here in California, Donald Sterling.
Yes, sir.
And this is just for objectivity. We look at this guy's law license so we can start seeing credibility, who's who and what's what. Not about who you like or who you don't like, going with the facts. The gentleman's law license is 31124. He's been an attorney since January 11th of 1961. All right? For the fact of the matter about credibility. Other stuff, that's going to be vetted out over time. The gentleman came out of Southwestern University School of Law, Los Angeles. He went to undergrad at California State University. So I'm looking at, he's been admitted since January 11th of 61, disciplinary and related action. This is how actions affect the eligibility to practice law. He is able to practice law right now. This member has no public record of discipline. Administrative actions. This member has no public record of administrative actions.
Okay. Are you saying? Are you trying to say that Donald Sterling is of good character? Is that your point?
No. I'm saying as far as if we start saying the level of what this guy has done, relative to we have attorneys that we love in the black community who have twisted up their law license by doing stupid stuff.
All right, man. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, brother, Mr. Wells. I got to go. Thank you. Let's go to Alan very quickly. Alan, good evening. How are you, sir? Alan. Hey. Oh, okay. Now I got you.
Salim.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Brother Salim for Saturday. Yeah, let me talk to you about the board. The Board of Education versus Topeka, Kansas.
Yes, sir.
News.
Uh-huh.
Do you think race relations at a certain point mentally? I'm gonna say it because I press for time. You know that the first lady was invited to Topeka, Kansas, and you read between the lines. You know about racism. I said, why would they want the first lady to be a famous person at the commencement address? I said, Now, President Obama, he's wrestling with this United States and all this, especially the board. It's the 60th anniversary. Thurgood Marshall argued that case. Now, what if Malik, his oldest daughter, said, Daddy, I want to go to a historical black college. This is what I'm saying. That you know about the baby doll syndrome. Education is just education. You know, any child should go to any college or any education facility of their choice. But we put more emphasis on that white baby doll. This was I went to a historical black college because I wanted to go. My brother went to a white junior college. This was when they turned out education privatized. Look what they did to the prison, especially Memphis, because Maya Kai had a good show on it. That we should be against privatization because Wall Street, that 1%, make all the profit, make all the decision, and leave us unemployed. And we'd be saying, why did Topeka, Kansas deny Michelle Obama an opportunity to address young folks? See, that's what I'm saying. So
no, I don't know exactly what you're saying. Are you saying that you think it was a mistake for us to go down that road?
No. I'm saying I was born in '69. You know, the power to be was denying African American. You know, if you paid your taxes, it's not about black and white.
That's right.
I'm saying this. What I'm saying. Thurgood Marshall argued it in front of the Supreme Court. He became associate on the Supreme Court. I'm saying he was on the right side of history. Now history is being made with President Obama and Michelle. Now one of President Obama's daughters said, "I want to go to a historical black college." A lot of people in the black community probably would say, "Well, the white colleges, Yale, Harvard, they're good schools." Now when we see our parents unemployed and they closing down schools, how you gonna feed your family?
Yes, sir. All right, my brother.
Thank you. Now,
thank you. All right. You need. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this case in Europe. Google. In Google, they have to delete information that people may consider negative in the search. If people search your name in Google and there's some negative stuff in there, in Europe, they have to remove it. And that causes all kind of problems for Google. And it's unlikely such a thing will happen here. But there's a possibility. There's a possibility. We'll talk about that and some other things. We're really going to get into the self-employment seminar that's coming up. And we'll do that right after this break. And we're back. Salim Muwakkil here. It is 8:07 on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. I have in the studio with me Sister Darlene Tate, who is the mastermind behind what is coming up on May 24th, a self-employment expo. That's right, a self-employment expo. It's as if Brother Studious Damon hyped this with his talk about independent employment, a vocation that's not dependent on the benevolence of a political figure and whatnot. Well, Sister Darlene is talking about self-employment, entrepreneurial pursuits, doing something for yourself in various kinds of self-employment options, like direct sale, different franchising arrangements, and other kind of business ownership schemes. And that's coming up. It will be on May 24th, and we have Sister Darlene with us to explain it more completely. Good evening, my sister.
Good evening, Brother Salim. Thank you so much for having me on tonight.
I'm glad you could join us. You've been on before.
Yes.
For this pretty much the same thing, and it's good to see that you have that kind of consistency and dedication to this particular mission. Explain to the listeners a little bit of what you're up to with this.
Yes. Well, the Self-Employment Expo, this is our 7th year, and it was conceptualized back in 2007 as a way to help small business owners get their products and services out to the community. But it took a life of its own. What I saw was there were many people that were curious as to how to start a business or what different options were available to them for self-employment, and they wanted this, as an option for themselves, but they really needed some assistance and, how to go about it, how to find them, how to start a business. And so from there, I developed the Self-Employment Expo as a way for people to come, meet people who have already started a business, get information on, marketing, social media, the logistics, business plans, licensing, and then as well as different options like, being a real estate agent, insurance agent. So it's all encompassing, the Self-Employment Expo, and we're looking forward to it.
Well, since you've been going on for 7 years, there must be a need for it. Did you find that to be the case? That people were pretty receptive to it?
Oh, certainly. On both ends, as a matter of fact, because a lot of people were interested in the different options available, and they needed that information. Also, the business owners who had products and services that would assist people in building a business either from scratch or building a business that was already in existence, they needed an avenue to get their product or service out to those people, to that target market. And so in that regard, we were able to help both sectors in that. And each year after the expo, we do an exit survey. And yes, that's how we know this is an expo that's needed. It's really one of a kind. It's not a consumer expo where we're asking you to come and spend lots of money. There's a place and a market for that. We're more so saying, you know what? We know about traditional employment. We know how to look for a job. But consider this, consider how you can employ yourself and build a business where you then can become the employer as well.
Okay. And so what exactly do you teach people who come? The steps on forming a business, what kind of documents to prepare and whatnot?
Well, each expo that we do, we bring a different set of seminars and workshops. So this year, we're focusing on some things that people have asked us in the past to present. So we have, because that, again, a lot of people have a book or a story inside and they don't know how to get it out of their head on the paper, published and distributed. So we have Kathy McClure that will be doing a self-publishing seminar, as well as financial preparedness. And that's so important for anyone, any entrepreneur. It's a step that's critical because you must know, how to deal with, the financial aspect of business ownership. We also have things like how to build your own website for business owners. And we will also have something there on marketing.
That's a pretty new innovation, right? The website one?
Yes.
How long have you been doing that one?
This is the first year.
Okay, all right. I thought so.
And people will actually be able to sit in the workshop and see a website being built. And they kind of have an idea because it can be very costly. if you hire someone to do it. And some people have the means to do that. Not everyone does. And for me, I've actually been building my own websites for 10 years. So this is a very important, workshop for people to attend as well.
That's a very important skill. I mean, if you learn how to do that, you have a leg up on many things.
Oh, yeah. And there are so many, templates and, ways to find out how to, build a basic website. And the reality is, if you don't have a website, as far as the consumer is concerned, you don't have a business.
That's right, especially these days, no doubt about it. Absolutely. So, Darlene, what drives you in this direction? I mean, why aren't you concerned about getting the job with corporate America and getting ensconced in one of those cubicles? What drives you beyond that?
Well, I've been there for one, and I can honestly say that I've actually worked since I was 13 years old, and I've been in corporate America. I've been in sales. I've been in media, and it taught me a lot. But there was always something inside of me that I needed to fulfill, in that I had my own ideas for business ownership. And it wasn't always I could build a better mousetrap, but it was I would like to present this to the consumer because I feel it's something that's needed or can be beneficial. And so I started probably my first business at the age of 23. It was an apartment rental company where I would help people find apartments because I was working in property management. And it just grew from there. It was sort of freeing to be able to, express the things that I conceptualize and take them from concept to completion, to the consumer. So that was fulfilling for me. But as I, traveled through corporate America, as I met, many people, they asked me, how did you start this business? How do you do it? And that's when I realized there is a need for information. First and foremost, people need to know, some of these first steps like we talked about. And so when I developed the Self-Employment Expo, I took it a step further because there are so many ways to become self-employed. And so my goal was to present as many of them as possible in one event that, by the way, is always free to attend, has been from day one. So
this one will be free as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is always free to attend.
Okay. And now it's going to be at the Kroc Center, which is 1250 West 119th Street on May 24th from 10 to 3 p.m., 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday.
Yes.
All right. Very good. I noticed also that you're not that this is not all that you're involved with. You have some other. You're trying to bring this idea of self-employment and an entrepreneurial consciousness to high school students as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I will tell you, and I'll take it a step further, specifically to high school students, African American high school students. Okay. And I believe it's important for our history. Our roots are, entrepreneurship out of necessity. Okay. And so this is something that is, dear to me. And I've always kind of used that as a catalyst for those days or times where I began to get a little weary, with my own business endeavors. And I remember, this is who I am. It's in my ancestry. So I have to push forward. And so what I did was I looked for a way to bring the option of entrepreneurship to African American teenagers. And so I developed a program called the Young Entrepreneur Success System. And I'm currently teaching the class to high school students at the DuSable Leadership Academy, which is part of the Betty Shabazz Charter Schools.
All right.
Yeah. And so, it's
students?
Oh, my goodness. This is what we found, is that it's a new concept for many of the students. But the ones that come to the class and stay from the start to the end of the 10-week session are those that really kind of had something brewing already. But they didn't know. They didn't know the outlet for it. Okay. So at the Self-Employment Expo, and I want to encourage everyone to seek out the young entrepreneurs from the class because they will be there with the businesses.
There as well. Okay.
Yes. And they, have already started their businesses. Of course, they have their websites. They learned how to build the website in the class, as well as things like a marketing plan and how to write a business plan. As you know, we had...
What year are these students? What?
They're from sophomore to senior, which makes for an interesting mix. Yeah, they're from sophomore to senior, and, they bring so much. Young people have so much creativity, and it's untainted. And they believe they can do anything. And sometimes they need someone to say, yes, you can do anything, and I'm willing to help you. And that's what this program is about. And I'm really eager to bring it to other high schools this year. And
are you also soliciting for high school age people to come to the Self-Employment Expo? Definitely. I mean, another reason I started this is I found that children that have parents that are entrepreneurs or business owners, it's natural for them to believe that that is not only one of the options, but the main option for them when it comes to business ownership or employing themselves. And conversely, if a child is growing up, where everybody's telling them to go get a job, sometimes they don't see business ownership or self-employment as an option. And so that was something that I wanted to bring, not just to, my generation or the generation before me, but the young generation, because they truly, I know it's a cliche, they are, the future, but they bring so many new ideas and fresh ideas, and they're looking for guidance. So we're reaching out. We have, information in the high schools, of course, Betty Shabazz charter schools, as well as, the other schools in the DuSable building. So yes, we encourage, our teenagers to attend. Have you had any contact with their parents at all?
Yes.
And how do they respond to your concepts?
Oh, I love it. The parents first. I had a parent call me and wanted me to really break down the class. She's like, okay, what's really going on? Are they getting a credit for this class? And what's beautiful is that this is an elective. They are not getting a credit for the class. They choose to attend the class. So there's always already an interest there. The parents love it because they see a spark in their child's eye. I have one young man who is an artist and always was trying to figure out how to promote his art. And he draws freehand, talented, extremely talented. So I get them to brainstorm and come up with ideas on their own through the thinking process. And so now he has a website and a business he'll be promoting at the Self-Employment Expo to promote his artwork.
All right. Yeah, so and the students, it seems to me, because I have had the opportunity to observe some of your students at work, and they seem to be pretty enthusiastic about something that, as you say, is a pretty new concept, and also the fact that it is still an elective.
Yes.
It would be nice if it was. If it was completely integrated into the curriculum, don't you think?
Yes.
Is that your goal eventually?
Yes, that is really what I'm pushing for. Here's an interesting tidbit. In a suburban school district, all right, where it's not predominantly African American, it is.
It's incorporated.
Entrepreneurship is incorporated into the academic and this high school. And I found that out about maybe 7-8 years ago. And that's when the wheels started turning for me. I would love to see this as part of the curriculum in many high schools, in every high school, because financial literacy is really not taught. No. Okay. Business ownership, in most cases, is not taught.
Well, that's because most of our academic structure is based on our agrarian reality.
Right.
We weren't expected to have those kinds of needs to be entrepreneurs.
No.
So yes, I mean it is a new concept for us.
And so I certainly advocate that. And my way of kind of giving back and helping that cause is to teach this course at DuSable Leadership Academy. And as you know, we have many culminating activities at the end of the last session. Like you said, you've had cause to interact with some of the students. We had a Shark Tank competition. And they also they learn the logistics of business ownership and marketing and things like that. They also learn how to verbally express and present their business. And that is equally as important as building a business. So as you know, you were there. We had a Shark Tank competition where they were challenged to, give a 2-minute presentation on their business idea. So it's a really well-rounded program.
It definitely seems to be, my sister. And one of the things that we often discuss on this show, and not simply in a business context, but as a brother pointed out earlier tonight, the Black people have been uniquely and rather specifically under the heel of economic interests that meant them no good.
Right.
And the more we could be independent of those interests, the better it is for us politically as well as economically and vocationally. And so the idea of self-employment and entrepreneurial activity is something that has a deep political resonance as well. Do you approach it in that way at all, or do you kind of stay away from those other political entanglements?
You know what? Initially, I didn't, because to be honest, I didn't recognize it when I first started it. But as it progressed, I realized how important it is. I also realized that, historically, of course, we talked about, it's in our roots, how business ownership in the Black community and entrepreneurship can bring the type of economic stability that is definitely needed. And that spills over into some of the social issues, which is an entirely different show. But if our youth know that there's more than hope, it's feasible, it's reachable, it's attainable to own a business, okay, to employ your oneself. I'm going to segue. I have a cousin who had some issues as when he was younger with the law. All right? A good kid, did something stupid and silly, and now he had a record. And he is 31 years old now. And for the last 7 years, 6-7 years, he kind of bounced around from job to job. He couldn't hold a job, had been hired, and then finally the criminal background check came back and, you're fired. And he began to become really discouraged. And so I talked to him, and I was like, dude, you are talented, you are smart, you are a go-getter, you're assertive. You need to figure out what you're good at and then start your own business. And he did. And so finally, I have the spark that's in his eye, because he was able to go out there, and he was very tempted to go back to some unsavory activity. But once he realized that, I can do this, I can start my own business, he started an internet company, an internet advertising company, he and another friend, and they're doing so well.
Oh, wow.
Great. So it spills over to, of course, our community economics, but social issues as well, because our young people need to know that these options are available to them.
Yes, absolutely. When I first, just like it's kind of an undercurrent in our community, in our socialization process. I don't know where it comes from, but I do know where it comes from. But it would be nice to be able to eradicate it. But this kind of undercurrent of we have a math aversion, we have a business aversion in our community, we have a financial literacy aversion. These kinds of things we've kind of been socialized into us, and it's difficult to get that out. But I remember when I first realized how folks thought it was necessary to get that out of us was the Nation of Islam. They used to give out a trophy with a businessman on it, with a briefcase. I thought that was when I first saw it, I thought that was the strangest thing in the world for this group, ostensibly an anti-white group, ostensibly anti-American. It's neither of those things. I learned later, but the image that you got of the nation, it was that it had this kind of anti-American vibe to it, and yet they were out to these young cats that had businessmen on the top of it as an ideal. And it was their point that that entrepreneurial activity is what leads you to independent thinking, independent politics, independent kind of social life and cultural life. And so they understood that a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
And it's a very important part of the black struggle is that we don't normally think of it as being
right. And it is, and I mean, if you just think about the fact that going back after slavery, there was no service. We couldn't get the services that we needed. And if our money was good at a certain establishment, we could spend it, but, it wasn't with a smile. So, eventually we had to build our own communities. We had to build our own stores. We had to build our own television stations. We had to build our own radio stations. We had to do this out of necessity. Okay, out of necessity. So fast forward, I am always pleased when I see a Black-owned business in the community. One thing, I try to do is to spend my money locally with Black-owned companies, as well as, patronize the local establishments like the coffee shops down on 79th Street or, the boutique, on 83rd Street. I try to do that, and I would, like to figure out a way to get more people to do that, because I don't like seeing a business come up and, Black-owned business, and then a few months later, they're gone. So it's like it all ties in together. The business ownership, the self-employment, giving back to the community, reaching to our youth, so they can continue that legacy. I think it's all intertwined.
All right, and we can find evidence and learn how to begin that intertwining process next Saturday, May 24th, at the Self-Employment Expo at Kroc Center, 1250 West 119th Street in Chicago. It will be from 10 to 3. And some of the seminars and workshops are from 10 to 11, integrity marketing, from 11 to 12, self-publishing, from 12 to 1, the empowerment plan. That sounds a little fascinating.
Yes.
Yeah. And from 1 to 2, design your own website.
Yes.
All right, Sister Tate, Darlene Tate, great job, and we appreciate you coming in and informing our listeners on what's happening.
So thank you. I appreciate you having me, and I would just like to tell the listeners, if you go to the website, which is selfemploymentexpo.com, you can register to attend. Of course, it's free to attend. Your RSVP. That will give you access to all of the seminars and workshops, as well as the exhibit hall. And we are giving away one free tablet. So if you, register online, your name will be, put in that raffle. And it will be pulled Saturday, May 24th at the Kroc Center.
Thank you, my sister. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brother Salim.
Good luck with your seminar.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back. Salim Muwakkil here on the Talk of Chicago. It is 8:33. That sounds like it's going to be a very informative event. Check it out if you have that inclination. All right, back to the phones, Brother Maceo. Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Salim?
I'm doing well, my brother. Doing well.
Great. And good evening to your WVON listeners, and hello to Brother Albert. Salim, I'd like to address two of your topics, and then I'd like to say something, briefly on Sidney Bechet and Lorraine Hansberry, and also, that Malcolm X's birthday is coming up as well. Mm-hmm. But in regards to this situation in Nevada with Bundy, my feelings on that is that if left unattended, this can become a precedent whereby other people like Bundy, militias, will do the same type of thing over and over without any fear of any type of response or any type of action against them. And I agree what you said earlier in that if we were in that situation and we were doing the same thing, the government would come down, would have came down right away.
That's right. That's right.
So, that's essentially my feeling on that. And in regards to Brown versus the Board of Education, I feel that we have that particular decision, we have regressed beyond that decision back to those days, not quite back to the days with the one-room schoolhouses, but in terms of the unequal education. Mm-hmm. I mean, in terms of the funding and in terms of the quality of education that is being provided for African-American children across the country. So in that respect, I think that there has been a regression.
You think things have gotten worse?
Absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely, and I point that out in terms of the funding. Essentially, I mean, and when you go back to the Jim Crow type of education, it was supposed to be separate and equal, but it was unequal. But you have the same thing today, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Pretty much.
And
so.
And it's not just an opinion either, because you could see in the terms of the Chicago school system where the funding is not there for black schools or African American schools, whereas you have a different type of scenario when it's white schools, and then you have these special schools like Whitney Young Prep, Jones Commercial Prep, where they are funding these schools, and then you have, it's supposed to be for all students, but you're getting an influx of more white students.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So,
yeah, it is. It's still the disparity in resources is pretty striking, and I think the disparity has become even more dramatic than it was. Well, not more dramatic, but the disparity has a deeper impact than it used to. Because at one point we didn't, we weren't expected to operate with resources, and so our expectations were lower. Now, you have to have those kind of resources in order to produce the academic programs that are necessary, and we just don't have them.
And then also, there's one more component to that, and that's the type of instruction that was given. Even though we were in that situation, our mothers, our fathers, grandmothers, in the situation of that Jim Crow type of education, you had teachers, black teachers, that were nurturers. Absolutely. And that were doing. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh man, and education was considered a transcendent value at that time. Just about all former enslaved Africans, the progeny of enslaved Africans, were really high. Education was a high value. And so many people sacrificed whatever they had to sacrifice to ensure that children were educated. So you're right. We are very nurturing.
And then you had the results of that. You had a lot of doctors and lawyers to graduate, and so it that particular nurturing process was a good thing. I don't see that as much now because, of course, the makeup of the school system is predominantly, white teachers, white females.
Right. Very big difference, man. Very big difference.
Yeah. But in reference to Sidney Bechet, whose birthday was on Wednesday, born on May 14th, 1897, when you were talking earlier about Charlie Parker having a work ethic in terms of his rehearsing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Sonny Rollins, Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, all of them were absolutely renowned for their practice regimen.
And, Sidney Bechet also, even as a child, precocious musician, he was so consumed by practicing his craft that he was truant from school. But the thing about him, too, is that his approach to music, his outlook on music was that music was a spirit, and that it was something that was inspired by the ancestors, and therefore it had to be the utmost, had to have the utmost respect, dignity, and passion. So he was very serious about his craft, even though he was somewhat eccentric at the same time, and had a mercurial temperament. When he was with Duke Ellington's Washingtonians for a short period of time in 1924, Duke Ellington, he loved his musicianship, his ability, his talent, but he wanted to bring his dog. He had a German Shepherd by the name of Gula, and when Duke Ellington said when he would blow on stage, and then all of a sudden he would say, "I'm going to call my dog Gula." And Gula would come on stage, and so I guess Duke couldn't really deal with that. And so, ultimately he had to part ways with him. And then, as you know, the story about his mercurial temperament in London in 1922, he got into a brawl with a woman at a hotel. And then in about 1928, when he was in France, either a musician was questioning they had a dispute over chord or something of another, but he challenged him to a duel, and he wounded 3 people plus this guy, and then he was sent to prison in France for a year. And then at one point, this musician was said to say that when Sidney Bechet got out of prison, he was going to enact a lawsuit against him. And Sidney Bechet, upon hearing that, he said, he was angry, and he said that, that one leg that he was wounded in, he said, I will look out for your other leg. So this was he was quite a guy, but a tremendous musician, saxophonist, and not saxophonist, but clarinetist and soprano saxophonist. But Lorraine Hansberry, born in Chicago. Okay, born in Chicago on May 19th, 1930, and also, but the playwright extraordinaire. And then also, she went to Betsy Ross Elementary School, Inglewood High School. But the thing is that her parents instilled in her a sense of pride, a sense of pride in the race, and she took that and she used that through all of her experiences, writing for the editor for the Freedom, Paul Robeson's newspaper, and so forth, and then crafted this great play, A Raisin in the Sun. But she's more than that, activist and so forth and so on. And I just wanted to say that at some point, we in Chicago need to embrace this great woman, and her and Malcolm X. Both of them died young, and within the same year. She in January of '65, Malcolm X assassinated in February of 1965. But happy birthday to both of them, and thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's go to Brother Robert. Hey, Brother Robert.
Hello, Salim.
How you doing?
All right. Good. Now, sanctions on the Russia right now, right?
Yes, sir, they are.
Okay. Now, how would you like to be in this mess now, astronaut out of space, and Brother Putin talking about a few more years, he's going to suspend the contract between the Soyuz going out of space, picking up the astronauts, bringing them back. Would you want to be in that mess?
They're up there now. There's some Americans up there now on the Soyuz.
When that first hopped off, we're going to pull 6 on Russia, blah, 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 blah. And now that's the wrong time you're talking about putting taking Russia's money.
That's a good point, man.
Gold in China to go take a trip up there with them.
Dig that. But you know what though? I mean, that does bring up another point, man. We were beginning to establish a pretty good relationship with Russia, and it looked like it was going to work out all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the neocons went to work, brother. Yeah. They went to work.
Them guys is quiet. There's a mouse in a church peeing on cotton. You can't hear none of them. Nobody, even Sarah Palin won't say good morning to nobody. They just quiet. There's a snowball in among snowballs.
Yeah.
it's just sad the way they working and plan on working a little later on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know? They're trying to scuttle whatever little progress President Obama has made in terms of international relationships. They're trying to scuttle everything, and they're being successful, unfortunately.
And one more thing, the knowledge that our comrades have on WVON, why don't they take some of it and just turn it around? Every time some of these neocons or someone says something about the president, about some of our black officials or call people names, just bring up facts on this, what happened. Like in Illinois in 31, they was hanging people down in Springfield and all this kind of stuff. It's sad the way somehow people get on the radio and talk about the president and don't swear he did not coming back on no more. I wish there's some of them just stay off the TV radio and don't come back no more if they could talk that junk.
But you got to keep some critical facilities.
Yeah,
man.
It's true.
We can't just accept everything.
Something another thing. If the president didn't have no credentials or birth certificate, the CIA,
that's
the
right,
KGB, all of them, Israel, everybody be trying to get him out the White House, right?
You're right, man. They would have got him out by now. That's right.
Do like Perry Small say, go somewhere and sit down.
Yeah, right.
Come on, James. I know you're out there. My man. See you.
All right, Brother Robert. Thank you, man. Appreciate it, brother. All right, Brother Robert. Let's go to Yasir. Hey, my brother. How are you?
Peace, Brother Muwakkil.
Peace.
How you doing?
Peace. I'm well, man. How are you?
Good. I'm good. I just wanted to call in. My name is Yasir Allah. I am a member of the Nation of Gods and Earth, commonly known as the 5%ers.
Yes, sir.
Here in the Chicago area.
Oh, okay.
And I just wanted to. I tried to get in last week. I heard the brother on. I do know the brother that you had on last week.
All right.
There was a few things that I thought could have been that I thought needed to be clarified, but there was one in particular that I wanted to speak on.
Go ahead, speak on it.
One is just the idea that is out there that the Nation of Gods and Earth, or the 5%ers, is just a undisciplined, ragtag, weed smoking subset of the Nation of Islam. I want to be sure that people, for those that are interested, that they understand that the structure of the Nation of God and Earth is very different than some other outfits that you may see. There is no organized leadership structure.
Okay.
So with that is why you will see some brothers who may be involved in some things that are a little unsavory.
And there is no dogma either, right?
No, sir.
Okay.
There is no dogma. So there is no dogma, and there is no leadership hierarchy within this. So that is why you will see some brothers who may be engaged in some unsavory things that may still claim that they represent this.
Yes, sir.
And I'll be the first to tell you that is a gift and a curse in and of itself, not having that leadership structure, because you have people who need that type of leadership. Yes. You know what I mean? To keep them on the straight and narrow path.
Oh, do I know what you mean?
you have people that will see what we're about, and they take a liking to it. They feel that it's something that can enhance their life, or maybe they just want to be down with something. You have people out there like that.
Yes, sir.
And they want to come into this thing, and then they get out and they're doing things that are not really representative of what we're about. Those are the types who, the brother that was on last week, he did mention this point, which is true, is that it's known that the father, the founder of the Nation of Gods and Earth, told some brothers, you need to go to the mosque. Because those were those brothers who needed that type of guidance. We teach that the black man is God, the black woman is earth, and the babies are greatest. And one of the principles in what we call the supreme alphabets is which is simply just a collection of principles that we've associated to the letters of the alphabet. So the letter S is called self or savior. And that's what we're really about, is trying to get the message across to our people that we need to be our own saviors. It's self-savior. We need to be our own saviors. We don't need any more people to be responsible for us. We don't need any more. Now, all due respect to all of the brothers, and sisters, that have given their lives to help Black people progress and move forward. Definitely to one of our last still living, warriors, the Minister Louis Farrakhan as well. But we don't need one singular leader, to come and raise us up. It's time for us. It's been time for us to take responsibility for ourselves. And many people have come. Exactly. Sole controllers of our lives. There's been many people that have come over the years that have tried to get that message across, but that is what we are about. So, and that's why we don't have that hierarchy of leadership here, is because every man needs to be responsible for himself. He needs to be responsible for his family. He needs to be responsible for the protection of his woman and his babies. Every woman needs to stand up and be a woman for herself and be an example to her children and be that first teacher. Right? You see what I mean? So that's what we're about, and that's why we don't have that.
Yes, sir.
And I also want to tie this into, the guest, the sister that you had on earlier with the self-employment seminar. That do it for self principle is something that is also very much ingrained in what we're about and what we teach. The brother last week, he mentioned, the brother from here, Elijah Hart, who's an author, but we have many authors in this nation. We have brothers two brothers that have their own publishing company, Supreme Design Publishing, that have put out many good works. And throughout the Black bookstores in the city of Chicago, you see many of their books there.
Yes, sir.
We have a brother out on the East Coast in Niagara Falls, New York, who just got finished running for political office out there. You have myself, who's also an independent business owner, a personal trainer, self-defense instructor. My Earth also has a business, a skincare company. We homeschool our children. You know what I mean? So see, we're taking responsibility for ourselves, and that's that. And I really wanted to impress that upon the listeners that we are not an undisciplined group, of ragtag weed smokers that just make hip hop music.
Do you think that impression came through from the brothers last week?
I'm not going to say that impression came through from the brothers last week. First of all, I came in late, I didn't hear, the whole show. But I'm not going to say.
No, I think they represented pretty. I think they represented pretty well, man.
Well, I guess you could say that. I just know it was some listeners that called in, and they were kind of coming at brother with some angles that I thought could have been clarified a little better.
Okay, I got you.
I was trying to get in last week, and I couldn't. So I just wanted to make sure that I get in this.
Well, I appreciate it, my brother. Call again, man. And as a matter of fact, call as much as you can, man, and give us the perspective of what NG is, may have a view on some of the stuff that we are talking about. All right, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right, brother. Thank you.
All right, you have a good one.
You too. Let's go to Mara. Hey, Mara.
Oh, this is Maria.
Maria, all right. How are you, my sister?
Salim?
Yes.
Yes, and to my WVON family, cousins, uncles, and aunties, especially to Uncle Maceo.
Yeah.
I hope you got my message, Uncle Maceo. I was so inspired by Shelby. I was in another room. I'm a going over old films and new films and whatever. Me and my daughter,
What films were you?
Well, I was just critiquing Cabin in the Sky.
I man, sure enough, old one there.
Yeah, and so I was looking at that, and then I heard Shelby in the other room, so I had to run. I said, "Oh man, I gotta call," because he was saying it was so magnificent. What he does with engineering, I have been doing with foreign languages for years, and I have turned it into edutainment, to educate and to entertain. I don't just teach you uno, dos, tres. And by the way, what was that piece you were playing? That Morena, porque yo soy la morena, la negrita. You know that. Who was that musician that you all had in the background?
Putnik Catayo is the name that's on the album. So
Putnik Santayo.
Nakatayo.
Nakatayo. Okay, I'll get that later. But let me tell you something. Did you know a black guy from Puerto Rico, Ponce, Cheo Feliciano, he was just killed in a, my cousin told me he was just killed in a automobile accident. He made a song, mi gente negra, my black people, and que luchamos para hueso, somos gente que luchamos para hueso. We are people that fight for bones. And because he's a black guy from Ponce. And my cousin just told me last week,
Cheo Feliciano?
No, not Jose, not the black.
Cheo, right?
Cheo Feliciano from Ponce, where a lot of the black soul comes in Puerto Rico. And he just was killed. And I mean, if you ever get his, look up mi gente negra, my black people, and he just really talks about the universality of us black people.
I've heard two of his cuts.
Yes, he was bad, and so Puerto Rico is really mourning, and all the people throughout the world who love Cheo Feliciano. He was a very tall, good-looking negrito black guy, and he sang about the universality of black people, and so we're mourning over there. When my cousin Maria told me, because she's from San Lorenzo, when she told me about Cheo got killed in an automobile accident, he had cancer before, and he ran into a tree or something. I don't have all the facts, but that broke my heart because I just loved that guy, and I loved how he united all the beauty of black people together. And we got to stop fighting for them bones now, you know? But Shelby really just inspired me. I had to just stop what I was doing, go in there, turn down my radio. The first time I turned it down, when my guy came to the phone, I missed it, so because I always have my radio turned down so you don't have to tell me to do it. And so I called back again just to say thank you, Shelby. I really was inspired by you. I'm writing down what you said, and I'm passing that on to other people.
Okay.
All right, and that's a good cut. I'm going to have to call back and get that cut because I loved it, All
right.
All right, so thanks a lot.
You're quite welcome,
okay,
Maria.
Bye.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to Maurice. Hey, Maurice, how you doing, brother?
I'd rather.
Well, you know what? Hold on, man. Well, go ahead. You don't usually take that long anyway. So
okay, I'll condense. Right on, sister. Let's stop fighting over them bones when there's a planet out here that will take care of everybody's needs.
Go ahead, brother.
I was going to talk about fear and ignorance being the greatest enemies of mankind, but your show with the entrepreneurship that changed course, plus Mr. Wells in Cincinnati, when he talked about somebody called him an informant. You remember what Shakespeare said about the things thou doest protest too much?
Yes.
You know what he meant by that? Secondly, I remember you yourself called him a contrarian one time.
Well, he is that, no doubt.
There's a reason for that. And when people keep hanging up on you on all these national talk shows, you're doing something wrong. And if we ever form this 40 million member corporation with black people putting $1 a week, an hour a week, and a pound of metal a week together, I don't want Mr. Wells in it with his behavior.
Wow.
Bye.
Okay, Brother Maurice. Maurice was succinct. I don't. Maybe there's something I'm not familiar with, but I do know that sometimes certain brothers seem to just want to belabor points that are only divisive points and really make no serious case for anything. But as I was saying about Google, also in the tech realm, the FCC they voted to advance this proposal that a lot of critics say is a threat to a free and open internet. A lot of protesters were protesting outside of the FCC when they were considering this plan that will allow for faster access for certain internet providers. Now, the agency has made that, they've tentatively made that decision, but they will allow 120 days of public comment before issuing final rules on on that decision. And this was, announced by FCC Chair Tom Wheeler, the chair who was appointed by President Obama. A lot of people were wondering why he appointed this guy, but it looks like we won't have a free and open internet for much longer. It's going to be interesting to see how that turns out, right? It can't be good. We'll talk about that and much more when we come back. And we're back. Salim Muwakkil here on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. And let's go right back to the phones. My sister Pam. Hey, Pam, how you doing?
I'm well, Salim. How are you?
I'm doing well.
And I enjoyed the sister. Darlene Tate was her name?
Darlene Tate, yes, ma'am.
Yes, I appreciated the information she offered, particularly regarding entrepreneurship for the young people, because I think they're. I'm sorry.
No, so she has she's doing some teaching at the DuSable, at the academy there, and she has a pretty nice class of young folks who are interested.
I appreciate that, and that is definitely the road we need to take. Salim, I just wanted to talk about our young children for a moment and how we need to protect them. You recall the incident with the little boy who was in the restaurant and he was molested in the bathroom while his parents sat and ate? Do you recall that?
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, he was. I think this maybe occurred about a month ago, if I was thinking correctly. And I think they were dining at a Chinese buffet place, and the little boy went to the bathroom by himself. I think he was maybe 7 or 8, but a young boy, and he was molested while his parents ate.
I didn't even hear about that one.
Oh,
wow.
Yes, absolutely. It terrified me and horrified me. So I always caution people to just escort their young children to the bathroom, because I see it too often if I shop and I'm at a mall, or if I'm at a restaurant, I'll just see children going to the bathrooms by themselves, and it is dangerous, even in the library.
Wow, that's amazing that we have to consider these things these days.
And for those of us who know we mean no harm, maybe we have to be watchful too, because when I see that, I usually try to wait for the young people to leave the bathroom, just because I know I'm watching out for them.
Yes, ma'am.
So I just issued that caution. But let me talk a little bit about the education piece. Salim, is education supposed to unite us or divide us? If that was one of the components that education was supposed to provide.
Well, that's a difficult one to say. Man.
Okay.
It is because that's talking about education in a kind of extracurricular way. You know what I mean? If you know what I mean, it's not dealing with curricular issues. It's talking about socialization kind of process.
Okay. I guess where I wanted to go with that, because it seems that education many times maybe I should say separates us, I guess. And puts us into different classes, socioeconomic status, but also just in terms of our mentality towards each other. Because you have a degree, does that then make you better than I am? And where I'm going with that, it seems to me that education for us, as we elevate and maybe move on to more successful positions, it changes the attitude.
Yes.
And I'm not quite sure, and I'm not sure if I'm phrasing it correctly, but my concern is that for those of us who have an education, whatever level, I don't think it should make you judge people in a way that you see them as being beneath you.
Yes,
or not worth sharing some time or information with them. And I don't know if I'm phrasing that correctly.
Well, yeah, you are. I mean, that's that really is a perennial issue when it comes to class stratification. It's always been it's not just in our community. It's all over. You know, people who have education, they look down on those who are less educated. They consider them less able to do certain things, and it's a kind of prejudice of the educated, elite prejudice. And for African Americans, sometimes that is exacerbated by the fact that it means access to white people, because that meant more privilege for us historically, and so that taints it as well. So,
and that's something that I think that our community cannot afford. I don't think Black people cannot, afford to hold those attitudes.
I agree with that.
Towards each other, because that's harmful. And the reason I thought about that is because the way the Chicago public school system is now, it has created a two-tier system. One being the lower level, if you're considered to be a regular Chicago public school student, and the other is charter and magnet. And I think that is, conveyed when you hear the conversation, or sometimes when you talk to students. Oh, I'm not a public school. I'm a charter or magnet.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think that has been harmful to our young people. And lastly, let me say this about the real estate taxes and the way schools are funded. So, I don't know if you recall, around maybe 2004, right before the downturn in the real estate industry, I know properties here on the west side in Austin and some of the other communities, Black communities, 2 units were going for like maybe $250,000, $300,000. And the taxes were increased as well. So the value of the properties, they were pretty high at that time. But what I don't recall is the influx of income, of money from the taxes going to the schools. So do you see what I'm saying? We had, high real estate property values, high tax money that is supposed to be derived from that coming to the local schools in the area.
I hear you. Well, was anybody trying to hold them accountable, or were there any mechanisms to do that?
Well, there some talk, but nothing major, because everybody was trying to ride the wave of the increase in the real estate value.
Yes, indeed.
But nothing major. So I'm saying if we state that school funding is related to real estate taxes, I didn't see it. When that occurred in the Black community. So I guess once again we're left out. And with Rahm Emanuel's campaign about ending violence, I think it would be a wonderful thing if he would start maybe contact his brother, who has a lot of access to different artists, and they maybe could reflect that message in their videos and in their music. Because, Salim, remember, they told us that if rappers do positive music, it doesn't sell. Well, if that is indeed the case, what is Pharrell Williams' song, Happy?
That's pretty...
And it's making a whole lot of money. So let's just stop spreading that lie, because that's what I think it is, a lie that positive music, positive rap from young people won't sell. I think it will. I think his song and some of the other ones have proved that. So let's take the positive message there, and maybe Rahm Emanuel can do that.
All right. Good suggestion,
Thank
Pam.
you.
Appreciate it. All right. Bye-bye. Yep. Positive messages. I wonder about that. I mean, I know when we do movies, for example, movies are a good example of that. Whenever there is a movie that is pretty self-consciously positive, it doesn't seem to do as well as other kinds of movies that are not self-consciously positive or preachy, as you may say. But I'm sure that there are some movies that you could consider preachy that do well, and it really all depends on how well you package the preachiness. You may be able to do a preachy movie that pulls in a lot of box office. There may be a way to do it. We just haven't figured it out yet. A so-called positive movie, pushing positive messages. But I have a little I'm a little dubious about the fact that that art should be self-consciously pushing a certain message. I think that denudes the art in many ways, and it makes it less authentic. And I think that the whole idea of art is to be as authentic as possible. May be wrong about that, and I'm certainly open to disagreement, but I'm a little leery of trying to implant positive messages in artists and people who create art. Let them create art. James, good evening. How you doing, brother?
We're fine.
All right.
Well, I know our time is short, so I'm going to be brief.
Yes, sir.
The people with a lot of business ideas for us, we need to try to get in touch with the people with the wherewithal and the money that could support us as a people. For instance, right here in Chicago, I'm always hearing about some guy knows so much about stocks, and we had Oprah here, you had Michael Jordan built a $30 million house, and you had Soft Sheen, Johnson Product, WVON. We have all these people, black people with money, but they don't control the south side of Chicago. Now, if they don't control the south side of Chicago, hear me good, and they got all this money, what in the world do we think the people going to do out here scrounging up a living every day going to do? Those are the people you got to get to.
Okay.
Let me say this. That Donald Sterling stuff, people, stop. Don't get played. This is psychological warfare. That Donald Sterling stuff is all planned. Think about it. The girlfriends could have came out right away and said, I don't think he a racist. She could have said that the first day. That would have killed it, nipped it in the bud. Sterling could have came out and said, no, I'm not a racist. He could have said it the first day. They held back. They let this stuff play on. They are playing with us because it's all part of an atmosphere being created for us to be slaughtered. Now I hear people say, oh, I want Hillary, black people too. I want Hillary for president. Hillary is a war criminal. Barack Obama is a war criminal. George Bush is a war criminal. Look at us. Look how these people got us. I ain't here talking about what war criminal you want. And you think that ain't going to come back and see us? You keep playing. You keep thinking you're going to be here with all these war criminals. And Bush killed 1 million people. He go to the ball game and eat Cracker Jacks.
What alternative universe do you propose people live in, brother?
What's that?
What alternative universe do you propose people live in?
Brother, this is the only universe I know.
Okay.
But what I propose people do, and what I propose to do, if I have a chance, I'm going to speak the truth. I'm going to expose white supremacy. I'm going to expose the games being played on us.
James, do you realize that what you say is truth is a function of your socialization process?
Do you realize the same thing go for you?
Absolutely.
When we put it
I
out
realize
there,
that absolutely.
Let the people decide.
So when you say, I just want you to understand that it's a relative concept.
I understand that,
all right,
brother.
That's all. I'm just making sure, brother. That's all.
Brother, I got that. But when you put out yours, the last caller, Pam, put out hers, I put out mine, the people out there listening,
yes, sir,
they going to decide what truth is.
They sure are.
So, hey, that's the way it goes. Mm-hmm. Now, let me say this. Let me say this last thing about the psychopaths who call up here playing psychological warfare again on our people, talking about what's wrong with us. Out of all the things Caucasian people have did in this world, they done slaughtered so many people you can't count them. Lynching, taking their kids to the lynching, cut off black people private parts, taking them home, taking pictures of the lynching so they can relive them. Out of all the things they done did, they got the nerve to call up here and talk about what's wrong with black people. Last thing quickly. Garbage said, it ain't nothing new, but it's true, and we coming to see it. Now, the brother was talking about the white supremacy out there in Arizona. That's all a setup. For these people to slaughter us, they got to create hate and racism.
Brother, Can white people? Is there anybody more powerful than white people, Brother James?
Are you
an atheist, by the way? I'm just curious.
No, not when it comes to killing.
No,
because let me tell you this, brother. Like I told you, that last guest you had on.
Just for my curiosity, brother. Are you a believer of any kind?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe in decent human beings.
I mean, do you believe in any kind of religion of any kind? That was my point.
Oh no, I really believe in the religion of human beings.
All right.
I believe in the religion of human beings.
All right.
Humans, because anything gonna be done, human beings gonna have to do it.
Yes,
but let me say this: the guest you had on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
What I was telling him was the last serious
Jamu Baraka.
Yes, sir. I was telling him was very important. The last serious threat was when you had Chinese communists, Russia, and you had some communists, you had Cuba, and you had communists pushing in Africa going against capitalism. They lost. Capitalism won.
Mm-hmm.
Capitalism have won the battle. And I hate to say it, but they have won.
Well, they've won since then, but now they're strains in capitalism, and they're new forms of socialism that are beginning to threaten capitalism. There was a very big academic treatise that came out recently. That's not really number one on the New York Times book list now. That talks about really kind of the end of capitalism.
What governments are challenging capitalism?
And governments are. This is a transnational and extranational phenomena. It's not necessarily government focused. But if you look at Finland or Iceland or Sweden or Denmark or even the Netherlands, they're beginning to make alterations in this whole idea of what capitalism is all about. So, I mean, there are new strains in capitalism. It's reached a point of diminishing returns. But you're right, it has won. It did win the so-called Cold War, and the march, the marketplace is what they call neoliberalism and this whole globalization process. But they're finding cracks in that now.
Yeah, but I don't see no government seriously coming together to challenge it like in the past, and that's why I said they have won.
Well, even before there was a government, but even before there was a government, James, there was an idea. Even that created the Soviet Union and the Soviet bloc. It was an idea, an ideology of Marxism that created all of those alternatives to capitalism.
The main battle between socialism and capitalism. I'm just saying capitalism has won.
It has won, but what I am saying, James, is that it is also, as the thesis goes of dialectics, capitalism is having its own problems, its own contradictions are beginning to challenge that capitalism that had won. It had won, you're right, but now it is having strains as well, and that's beginning to happen around the world.
I don't see that.
Look harder, brother. All right, take care. Let's go to Sambini. Hey, my brother.
Man, I just got through doing a Four Top song.
Uh-oh. Which one?
Every day the sun comes up around her. They told me I did a good job on that one, but when I did Please Return Your Love to, and did Eddie Kendrick's falsetto, they was in there acting like I was W.C. Fields telling a joke or something. So.
Well, I mean, you go from a baritone to a falsetto, man. That'd be a nice leap.
Yeah,
from David Ruffin to Eddie Kendrick.
Yeah, I learned that from my mother, who whenever I do a show, I'm doing one tomorrow, a private one, I tell people that, and I'm not saying this just because she's my mother, that she's the baddest I've heard. Her natural voice was alto. She can do contralto, mezzo, soprano, and she absolutely floored me one day when she did a bass. So that's 5 different registers. Only other singer I know that could do that was who I consider to be the world's greatest tenor, and that's Jackie Wilson. I want to discuss with you about 2 interesting conversations I had. One with my sister, and I almost want to disown her, but I'm not going to.
That's the one about she said she wished she was white.
No, that's my youngest sister who said that.
Okay.
I don't want to put out the problem that I'm having a problem with my sister. We just talk a lot. Okay. This is the oldest sister who's 67, and on the day we funeralized my nephew, this sister said to me that it's a trait of the black man to leave his family and his children. And the mother of the nephew who was stabbed to death agreed. Now, I said, if N.A. Rush Limbaugh says something like that, then he's a racist. And I'll briefly tell you about a conversation I had with him, because he called me a day later here at the house, claimed that he listens to your show, and asked me what, in fact, is a leading setup question. Why would somebody call in and disparage you on the air knowing that you had a tragedy in your family? Why would anybody do that? That's what he asked me. I said, Mr. Rush, you're assuming that this person knew that I had a tragedy. Well, you said it on the radio, but she might not have been listening, Rush. So he claimed to call me to give me condolences. I said, you already sent me a package. What is your real reason for calling? And his real reason for calling, Salim, was to... I told you so. I told you on my program, when you call on my program, you're going to catch all kind of hell, blah, 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 blah. And I said, what did I say to you? Well, you said you didn't care, that no one determines what you do or what you... I said, yes, and I still feel that way. So we had other conversations, but I just told him, look, man, I can't tell you the impetus or why somebody calls into a program, does this or does that. It would be better for you to ask me when Christ is going to come back. I have a better chance to answer that question.
So you and Rush are pretty tight, huh?
Don't make that assumption, Salim. We're not tight. Okay, we're not tight. No.
Well, I mean, he's calling you at your crib, man. That's
That's because I think he was trying to goad me into somehow saying something about this person that called in. See, I handle him and people like him by not calling him fat, a dope fiend. That's the typical response that he gets. I challenge him, I don't like this word, intellectually. And I'm not bragging, I defeat him intellectually. I did that on the phone.
Why don't you like that word?
Because it's the inference sometimes, depending upon who's listening, is that I'm better.
What Pam was talking about.
Yes,
that kind of.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, I told my sister, and she's been carrying this for 50 years, Salim. She's 67. I said, you got 6 brothers in the house right now. 4, your nephew, 1, the husband of your niece, and me, who didn't leave our family and children. I might as well have been talking to one of your old pair of gym shoes, Salim. She just discounted that. So I said, and you got 3 of them outside who didn't leave. I said, where did you get that from? She said, it's a fact. Based on what? She kept saying it's a fact. So I said to myself, you've been carrying this for 50 years. Darn it, if I had to be in a relationship with you, I would leave you too. I wouldn't leave my children.
But
I would have to.
What she's saying, a lot of people,
Yes, a lot of people. See, Salim. Yeah. See, Salim, I happen to be of the thought pattern that the woman that Shahrazad Ali wrote about in her book, people was acting like that there was nobody on the earth who fit that description. By the same token, the same thing with the man in the color purple. Now, when I saw Sister Shahrazad Ali on Phil Donahue's show, Hakeem Madabuti kept challenging her, you didn't provide any answers. He wouldn't acknowledge that there's such a woman. The answer is, if a woman finds herself in Shahrazad Ali's book exhibiting that behavior, to stop it. That's within her framework to do that. The same thing with the brother or the man who finds himself in the color purple. Now, let me just end by saying this. You came to WVON in, 1990 or 1991?
The first time?
Yes.
93, I think.
The initial time was 93, you said? Okay, then I'm wrong. Well, I thought it was 90. I'm gonna go back and check
maybe, I think I have done some some programs I substituted for folks, I think, that back that far.
Well, in 1990, one Purvis Spann, who has an incredible daughter who has brought this black giant, she didn't do it by herself, to the point where it is now, he ran for mayor. Do you remember? He ran as a Republican. Do you remember? I'm certainly glad nobody boycotted WVON and jumped on Melody and Purvis, because theoretically you wouldn't be on the program. Theoretically, I wouldn't be talking to you. And if I want to continue to be irrational, I would say I would be the host on WVON, and probably nobody would be listening to me, because one guy keeps telling me, man, if you keep mentioning Russia, man, ain't nobody gonna come to your concert. And I say all of that type of behavior is irrational, and what my sister was trying to push is irrational. And I told her, I said it ought to come to a screeching halt on your part and anybody else's part that does that, but it won't.
Thank you, my brother.
Carry on.
You too. We'll be back. And we're back. Salim Muwakkil here on the Talk of Chicago. Back to the phones we go. Telly. Hey, my brother. How you doing?
All praise be to God and peace to your African community.
All right, brother.
I wanted to ask you something real quick, brother.
Yes, sir.
Come back from the Twilight Zone. This morning on Miss Dorothy Tillman's show, someone called in and asking about $400 million that was given to the Black Caucus, and no one has heard about that money yet. I had thought it was being been taken care of somewhere in the community, but I don't know. And secondly, I wish to know what you think about the United States, Britain, and France going over into Africa concerning this guy named Buko. I believe it was set up. I believe they're trying to recolonize Africa, and the United States, they're not going to go militarily, but they've already got Marines off the shore of the Sudan. I think they got maybe 1,500 guys off the shore of Sudan. But I want to find out what you thought about that.
We did a show last Wednesday. A brother named Ajamu Baraka did a really thorough kind of examination of what's going on the continent of Africa with Boko Haram, not just Boko Haram in Nigeria, but also Al-Shabaab in Somalia, and they also are having problems in Kenya with Al-Shabaab. Primarily because Kenya went into Somalia to try to attack them, but there's a pretty solid consensus among folks, progressive analysts, that this is clearly a pretext to increase AFRICOM's presence on the continent. Already, France has come into Mali to help against the AQIM, which is Al Qaeda in Islamic Maghreb. They come into Niger. They came into the Central African Republic, and now you see that Nigeria, Cameroon, Niger, and Burkina Faso, they're meeting in France right now, making plans on how to attack Boko Haram. And a lot of people think that Boko Haram is a creation of Mossad or MI6. Anyway, a lot of people say that.
MI6 myself. I really do, and because that seems like something they would do, seems like something the British would do. But and then secondly, the second thing about this $400 million. You heard anything about that?
No, sir.
Well, I did hear it was a brief article in a paper or somewhere. I threw the paper away, and the Black Caucus was given this money. So I don't understand why, for what purpose, and where is it at. But keep the good work up, man.
All right.
Because the thing is, what we don't understand, the struggle will not be televised.
Yes, sir. All right, Brother Tully. It won't be televised. It may be on the radio, though. Let's go to Jeff. Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
Hey, good evening, brother.
Good evening.
I heard you, and I think what's the morning show guy?
Matt McGill?
Yeah. That's Matt McGill. You all were discussing. I think you said at the end of your conversation that black folks need to adjust to this new change And I think you were referring to the homosexual lifestyle. And I just want to make sure I heard that correctly.
Brother, I have no idea, quite frankly, what exactly you're talking about, man. We talked about many things.
Yeah, I know. It was like I think it was a Monday or Tuesday you were on there.
I'm on there every Monday from 7 to 8.
Okay. Yeah, and I said, well, man, I know I didn't hear that correctly, but I understand I got it.
You may have heard us talking about this guy who the NFL player, because we talked about that.
Yeah, that's
Michael Sam.
That's it. I thought you had said that black folks have to make an adjustment or have to gradually accept the change or something to that effect.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people didn't like he kissed his significant other after he got his thing, right?
True.
And a lot of people found that very distasteful. I think we automatically, because we're socialized to feel it being distasteful, and it's hard not to feel it being that way. But I think what's happening though, man, is that we're going to have to get used to it because it's going to be happening more and more.
That's what I heard. Yeah. But my thing is, well, again, I tune you because
there's still a lot of white people who think that black people doing anything is distasteful.
True. But again, I guess my point was, but this is their baby. This is their project that they promote, endorse, enforce. And I think it's just another one of
whose project? White people?
White folks, yes. It's another one of the tools, or I should say, weapons in their arsenal to as far as black folks. See, in no way, shape, or form, black people adjusting to that is going to help solve any of our problems. While we're
so are you suggesting that we don't adjust to it?
Well, look at this. So far, we've adjusted to their drugs. It ain't working. Their alcohol is not working. We making up. What have we adopted of theirs? As far as their ills. This. I don't know. It's seen as just another social ill that's not going to benefit us, brother. You know what I mean?
But I hear what you're saying. But are you suggesting that we fight it? What are you suggesting we do?
I'm suggesting that we eliminate all those ills that are not of our doing and leave it.
So are you suggesting that we disown black people who are gay? I don't see. I'm trying to get exactly what.
Yeah, well, look here, brother. We disown those who are committing violence in our neighborhoods, right? We don't want that, do we?
No, we beat our children every day. That's violence, wouldn't you say?
You say beat our children?
Yeah, we inflict pain on people younger than us and more vulnerable than us every day, don't we?
Well, brother, again, that's because of the sick condition we're in, being here under those folks' oppression. That we're still trying to grow out of. Look at what.
Yes, sir. We unfortunately, man, we've been socialized for about 350. We got a lot of growing out to do, and you're right. We got to grow out.
So why take on another one that's in total, which doesn't reinforce the fact that our sisters need husbands, right?
Mm-hmm.
See, they don't need somebody sharing dresses with them. We need men to raise the men. You know what I mean? We need people to go to work, clean up our side of the fence. But that's all I'm saying.
I got you, but I just don't understand what you are suggesting we do in lieu of that. Because are you saying that there are no black people who are gay? Is that your point?
Well, of course there are. But I just say we.
So what should we do with them?
Well, that's when I got to think. I have to call you back on that one, but I got an answer.
Okay, bro. I appreciate it, man. I hear it is a dilemma, but I think you need to, as you say, call me back on it. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go to Marvin. Hey, Marvin, what's up, bro?
You guys, Salim, how's everything going?
Everything's cool, man.
Oh, man, yeah, beautiful. Hey, they've been talking about. Notice they've been still talking about that Magic Johnson situation and that Sterling guy who's now he wants to sue the NBA. Now he wants to sue the NBA.
Right.
So we
Do you
figured
think there's
that
a cost?
he wasn't going to let that thing go. But he talks about Magic Johnson, and he's got the nerve talking about what Magic Johnson don't do for the community.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he doesn't even know that Magic Johnson has his own TV channel, has his own TV station.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't know it right now. If he don't know, he should. All he got to do is get a Comcast cable or somebody and watch that Aspire channel. That's a beautiful channel.
Okay.
That channel's got young people, but they got young people who's mature. Not like this, not like BET at all. It's just people want to add. These young people are inquisitive. They're studious. They come from college. They want to know what it's like to be a great person. Of all walks of life, you got mad people that wants to be a saxophone player. Got people want to be a football player. People wants to.
So you're saying that Magic Johnson is doing something positive for our community?
Yes, he is. And plus, not only that, he has this programming too on TV program. He's got old programs like Julia. And Bill Cosby, when Bill Cosby was playing that high school coach, Kincaid.
But you know, Magic Johnson is also involved with these debit cards and payday loan companies as well, which are really they inflict these very usurious rates on people in terms of interest rates. Doesn't he do that as well?
Well, I didn't know that, but I remember he had partnered with that Washington Mutual Insurance thing.
Yes, sir.
He partnered with that. Now I got out of that. Now I'm watching his channel. I'm watching one of the shows on his channel, and he's got a guy doing a comedy on there. Plus he got he's got shows like Flip Wilson.
Yeah, I know, but I mean I got you. You like his channel. And that is good. That's a good thing. I mean, Magic is certainly an entrepreneur. He's taken his prominence in basketball to new heights, no doubt about it. He's an excellent example of entrepreneurial energy. But he's not absolutely without blemish. No,
I know. I realize that. He's better than I think Bob Johnson or Deborah Lee doing that BET stuff. He's much better. I think he is.
Okay, all right.
Because see, you have to wonder. Hey, I want to major, and then he got independent black films on there too.
Yes, sir.
And for the young people.
See, one of the things about these stations, man, you have to appeal to the public. You have to appeal to popular taste, and so a lot of people, in order to make money in whatever station they have, they make a certain kind of a programming choice that appeals to people. That gives them clout in the advertising field, so that they can sell their program.
That's right. Oh, another thing, you comes on Monday with Matt.
Yes, sir.
On 8 o'clock. Do you know what? Why don't you tell Matt when he comes on to play some jazz, put a jazz intro on for you, man. Man, I like this. I like this cut Freddie Hubbard made years ago called Red Clay.
Yes, sir. I played it last week.
Right, that's a nice cut, man. It's jazz, but it has an up tempo to it.
Well, jazz is up tempo as well. But you're talking about Freddie Hubbard. He's this is during the time when CTI was big in jazz. A lot of players who were on other labels started playing for CTI, and CTI really gave them a boost. A lot of people got big. Stanley. Man, I can't.
Stanley, you talking about the bass player?
No, well, yeah. Oh man, Ron Carter had some hits there.
I believe I know you're talking about. He played bass, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that guy played bass just like a lead guitar.
Yeah. Now, who I don't know why I can't think of the guitar player, George Benson. Yeah, George Benson had a lot of cuts on CTI as well.
Right.
Yeah. All right, man. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Oh, all right, bro.
All right, Brother Marvin. Yeah. Let's see who's next, brother Nazir. Hey, Nazar. Hey, man. How are you?
Yes, sir. sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, brother.
That's good, man, and I hope you continue to do well. And of all the people that call in terms of from the host standpoint, if anyone can hold their own, it's you. And I know people. I just don't think people appreciate your expertise and your knowledge as much as they should. That's just my opinion. You know, from listening and being at the age that I am, from hearing from different people, and I would, to me, just be remiss not to just remind people and how diplomatic you are, and as not to, get into name calling and other things, which you be within your right because they call you names indirectly. But anyway, that's I just wanted to say that, and I don't think it can be said enough. And I appreciate you. I'm sure that most of the listeners appreciate you also. But I just wanted to remind you that you're just a wonderful and a blessing of a host that we have in America and internationally. So I just
I really appreciate that, brother. Thank you, man.
Well, like I said, I'm not. This is not my first. I've been around for a period of time. But getting back to the topics about the Sterling thing, I haven't heard anyone talk about the unity that was about to, I thought, began to be catalyzed about unity, it's especially black unity, but it's all about Sterling, Johnson, all this. What about the unity, about the boycotting and all this and that? And I just don't think we have taken advantage, and it's not too late.
No, I think you're absolutely right, man. That was probably the most heartening thing to come out of this of all, and that was the fact that these brothers were willing to place themselves on the line in a show of unity against this cat's racist comments. You're right. I think we need to celebrate that and try to enhance it to let these brothers know that we really appreciate them doing that.
Because it transcends the NBA. I mean, this is not only a local problem, but it's an international problem. People of color,
Absolutely, man. You see the problems they're having now with football in international arena. People throwing bananas at black players and all of that it's pretty rough,
I remember that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I just want to mention a couple more things right quick. The brother who was talking about Rush Limbaugh. I believe he's a good brother, but I also think that he's allowing Rush Limbaugh to use him, because Rush Limbaugh, I wouldn't spend a 1 second with him and his credibility, all of the things and his true heartful feelings about people of color. I mean, I hope that the brother sees that his intentions are not for not even his own personal family. I think he's able to say, "Oh yeah, I get my jobs off. Did you hear? He was on a Salim show talking about me." So that's what I want to say about it. And one other thing that I wanted to mention about James, this fatalistic and this pessimistic outview, it just needs more positiveness. But there is hope for him, because I understand he said he doesn't believe in anything. So he's able to be evangelized by someone that he can have a more positive, aspect about life, because you posed to him, well, where else you gonna go? And that was very diplomatic, so and the last thing I want to say, Salim, is Steve and Larry and Clarence Thomas. They're like the Three Stooges. Steve needs to talk to his people, not only Caucasian, white, whatever ethnic group that just despise.
Man, hey, Steve. Look, Steve is a liberal. Steve is not. Steve. I don't think you could classify Steve with these other cats.
Talk on other shows though. Also, besides this show, Salim, he doesn't come across as liberal as on these other shows as he does on yours.
Okay, I haven't heard him on other shows. Okay.
Yeah, and Larry.
Incidentally, have you heard Sumbini on Rush's show?
No, I haven't. I wouldn't dare. I don't have time to waste my time listening to
I got you. I hear you, brother. I was trying. I tried to look at Fox News today, man, and I couldn't do it.
You couldn't do it, though, could you? I know, and me either. And that's honorable that you can't. And Larry, I don't think there's any hope for brother Larry. I still consider him as a brother because I love all people. So I'm not against anyone, because I've changed and evolved and grew.
Yes, sir.
So
yes, sir.
So everyone else can also.
Absolutely, brother. Yes, sir.
But I'm going to end up just saying thank you so much, Salim, and hopefully the continued growth and with your hosting, they will grow more. And Maceo, he's a wonderful brother. I do appreciate his positive contributions.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man, sir. Appreciate it, brother.
Sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Brother Matt. Andrew, hey, man. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Brother Salim? How you doing?
Man? I'm well.
All right. I just wanted to say very briefly, I believe the jazz artist that you were speaking of, whose name you could not recall his last name, I think you're speaking about Stanley Clarke.
No, I'm not. I'm not speaking about Stanley Clarke. He was a bass player as well. I'm thinking about God. It's so
because the only other Stanley that I can think of was
Stanley
in jazz.
He plays he's saxophone.
You're not talking about Stanley Turrentine, are you?
That's exactly who I'm thinking about.
Oh,
man.
Okay. Well, yes, I got a couple of his albums.
Yeah,
of
Stanley
course,
Turrentine was another CTI giant at the time. Freddie Hubbard, Stanley Turrentine, George Benson.
Stanley Turrentine, he passed away several years.
Hello? Brother Andrew disappeared. Andrew, you there?
Right, hello?
Okay,
Yeah, he passed away several years ago.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was a fan of Stanley Turrentine. My favorite song by him, I remember he made that LP back in the 70s called Everybody Come On Out.
Yes.
And if I'm not mistaken, let's see, I think Hiram Bullock was on that LP, along with David Sanborn and a few other people.
Mm-hmm.
I love that LP. I still got it in my record collection.
Well, that was before CTI. That was before he got on CTI. But yeah, I mean, there was a whole genre almost of jazz, just like, and much the same way that the Blue Note label had its own sound, its own kind of aesthetic.
Labels. I got some LPs from that were made on the Blue Note label, and in conclusion, I know you're pressed for time, but if you can address this issue once again, I would appreciate it, Brother Salim.
Okay.
We remember one of the last times I called you, I had asked you if it was true that the song "Take 5" by Dave Brubeck, that I was told that Dave Brubeck stole that song. Now I don't know whether that's true or whether that's just a false rumor, but I would like for you to elaborate on that for at least a minute or so. I just want to know if it's true because I've been told that, and I don't know whether or not that's true.
Stan Kenton wrote the song. That's Stan Kenton's song.
Is Stan Kenton black or white?
He's white.
So in other words, Dave Brubeck really did not steal that song.
Well, as far as I know, he didn't steal it. What he did is he embellished it with this unique sound signature, this unique time signature, which is what.
So basically, Dave Brubeck just simply took it and just put his own groove to it.
Yes, exactly right.
But again, who wrote the song?
Stan Kenton.
Okay,
as I know.
And Dave Brubeck just did his own version of it.
Well, Stan Kenton was a saxophone in Dave Brubeck's band.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, thank you for clearing that up for me.
Yes,
thank you. I appreciate that.
You're quite welcome, brother.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Let's go to Janice. Hey, Janice.
Hi. I was listening to your callers, people called in, and someone was talking about the international forces going into Nigeria.
Yes.
And I'm in favor of, I say do whatever is possible. I would like to see if we could just do a divestment of Nigeria, Cameroon, wherever we think those girls are, and just divest any funding from the United States or any other countries. I bet they will find those girls, because I've always wondered if the government was complicit.
You think the government is complicit in this?
Yeah, and it's corruption. Like, it took the government 2 weeks.
Well, I think that's more a case that I think that's more a case of neglect, because Nigeria, most of the resources are in the Christian South, and the North and the Muslim North has been neglected for quite a while. And I think part of the reason for the lack of attention to what was happening in the North is because of this kind of traditional neglect that the South has treated the North with.
Do you think if you want to believe that, because I've also read about the corruption in
very corrupt.
The small groups that are even up there in the North.
Yes,
they knew it for 2 hours, and and I just wondered if it's just corruption, and if the international outcry would just say, well, we're just going to divest, and I just wonder if it would be easier to divest out of Nigeria.
But sister, that's a lot of black people will get hurt from that. A lot of black people.
But would they come up with those girls though?
Well, I mean that's 300 girls, but there may be millions of black people who are put in danger because of divestment, any kind of divestment.
Oh, I understand. But do you think
that's
Nigeria,
worth it?
Do you think Nigeria those girls would just reappear much quicker than all this other stuff?
I don't think so much. So thank you. I don't. It may be, but I think that's too high a price to pay. Thank you, my sister. Appreciate it. All right. There's a sister who's ready to starve Nigeria for these girls. It's been a pleasure again. I thank Darlene Tate for coming on, explaining that self-employment